President Cyril Ramaphosa is today expected to host General Umaro Sissoco Embaló, the President of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, on a state visit to Pretoria. The visit will provide an opportunity for South Africa and Guinea-Bissau to strengthen bilateral political and socio-economic relations. Now, the visit is also a platform to give new energy to a number of bilateral agreements that require closer implementation. The General Cooperation Agreement between the two countries was signed in September 2008. Our reporters Samkela Maseko and Kayelihle Kumalo are at the Union Buildings today. Let's cross over to them and just find out a little bit more about this visit. Samkela up first. Good morning again, Samkela.
Yes, indeed, Leanne. This morning, President Cyril Ramaphosa will be hosting General Umaro Embaló, the President of Guinea-Bissau, this morning, where they will be strengthening bilateral relations between the two countries. But of course, I am not alone. I am with one of the international news reporters of the South African Broadcasting Corporation, the diplomat himself, Kayelihle Kumalo, whom we will further explore this visit of President Sissoco Embaló to South Africa, to President Cyril Ramaphosa, the bilateral relations. What can we expect? Just in a summary, Kayelihle.
So quite a lot of issues really to be explored here. You look at areas around mining, security. This is one of the countries in West Africa where there was an attempted coup. So it was really a big issue because President Embaló survived a coup alongside his cabinet. But also in the main, the issue around tourism as well is quite important because Guinea-Bissau really, it's a country with about 87 islands. So all of them really waiting to be tapped, and with South Africa's expertise, this could be such a very critical moment to really try and strengthen ties around these areas of economic development.
Yes, Kayelihle, you speak about strengthening economic relations between the two countries. The Minister of Social Development in the country, Minister Lindiwe Zulu, in fact, has just arrived here, and she will be part of President Cyril Ramaphosa's delegation, particularly when you look at social development issues between these two countries, the underdevelopment that is there between these two countries. We are going to bring her in, Kayelihle, as well. She's going to speak further on some of the issues, particularly that she will be speaking on when it comes to the issues of social development within the two countries, how they can interact, how they can relate with one another. Minister Zulu, sorry to ambush you like this. Just in essence, what can you anticipate from a social development perspective between the two countries? And as a person who is focused a lot on international relations issues, what can we offer and what can Guinea-Bissau offer the people of South Africa, and what can we offer them, particularly when it comes to trade issues and particularly issues of social development?
Well, yes, you did ambush me, but it's okay. It's one of those things. Thank you very much, and a very good morning to you. I am the minister that is will be going up and down to the meetings with the president. But I think the most important thing is that this visit has been long time waited, and also a return visit by President Cyril Ramaphosa is also awaited by the people of Guinea-Bissau. We are African people. I think from a point of view of solidarity with each other, that's where I think we need to start, especially if you consider the challenges that we've been facing because of COVID-19, which is coming out of COVID-19. But secondly, we have to strengthen our relations so that the historical ties that we've always had during the liberation struggle and the support that we got should be now bear the fruits of that support and that assistance that we got from them. From an economic point of view, I think that discussion will come out. After the discussions, there will be a briefing, and that's where you'll get more substantial issues around the issues of trade, what are the possibilities in Guinea-Bissau and vice versa. I think you'll get that when the briefing takes place.
Minister, thank you very much. Sorry for the ambush once again, but really appreciate it.
I'm not in Angola anymore, you know. I know ambushes in Angola, not here.
Maybe just before I let you go, Minister, just a quick one, Sam. Amika Cabral, whenever you talk about Guinea-Bissau, you talk about the struggle against colonialism, and we know with South Africa, the fight against apartheid, the historical ties, Minister, how key is that?
It's very key, because part of the reasons why we need to always be appreciative of the support that we got from the African continent is to keep those relationships going for different reasons now. We are under democracy now. We're just celebrating 28 years of democracy yesterday. We are under democracy now, and our relationship should be relationship. You asked me about issues of social development. Our relationship should be focusing on what do we do to support the people of Africa to live a better life. Africans have suffered too long, both under colonialism, but also many of them still suffer even today, and therefore the issue of our leadership and connecting at leadership level is very important. What do we lead for? We must be seen to be leading for changing the lives of our people, and that's not about just a South African issue, it's a continental issue.
And just before I let you go, Minister, we do know Guinea-Bissau, when you talk about drug trafficking, it's a big challenge, you know, transit points between Latin America and Europe. Social development, you're a very central player in fighting drug abuse. It is a challenge also here in South Africa. Is it one of the areas that you'll be looking at working around?
Absolutely, we have to look at those issues that are of major concern, because the more you have challenges of drug trafficking, the more you have social ills in our communities. But the biggest challenge with drug trafficking actually is about the people who are producing the drugs, the people who are distributing the drugs, the people who are using our own people for selling the drugs. And in this case, I know that in particular women are used in drug trafficking. I used to be ambassador in Brazil, and if you can ask me about the number of women, African women, who are languishing in jails in Brazil because of drug trafficking. What needs to happen here, in my view, is for us to target the big bosses, target the producers of these drugs, because in many instances we target the small-time people who are selling on the street, but the biggest problem is who is producing these drugs, who is making money out of it. And I'm sure that between ourselves and the police and intelligence and all that is what we need to work on. Probably those are some of the discussions that will take place.
All right, Minister, thank you so much indeed for your time. And Sam, it's quite interesting because when you look at how President Embaló came into office, one of his major policies was around fighting drug abuse, making sure that they cleanse Guinea-Bissau, and making sure that they're able to tackle this social problem.
Issue, particularly when you speak about social ills and substance abuse and drugs, it's a prevalent issue throughout the entire world, particularly within the African continent, as we see of late. You look at how many countries are struggling with youth unemployment, youth particularly abusing these substances. But that's not the only point that these bilateral meetings will be engaging on today. There's also a coup d'etat attempt that was there in Guinea-Bissau, and how President Embaló and the government there survived that particular coup d'etat. You know, President Cyril Ramaphosa, when it comes to peace and stability, is very prevalent and speaking, and very vociferous on speaking on those issues, particularly within the SADC region and the entire African continent. And you look at his tenure when he was still within the African Union. How would you think, Khayelihle, some of these discussions on peace and security and stability will pan out?
Well, Sam, when I spoke to South Africa's ambassador in Guinea-Bissau, Ambassador Mbete, he was very clear about the issue of security, stating categorically, saying that Guinea-Bissau got its independence in 1974 from the Portuguese, but the issue of security has always been a concern. But you go back to those very terrible events in February this year, where President Embaló was chairing a cabinet meeting, and there was exchange of, gunfire outside the cabinet meeting. So they survived this particular coup, and it happened as West Africa really was battling these coups in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and other countries, really. So it was a major concern for South Africa. In fact, the Ministry of International Relations here in South Africa issued a statement really condemning that, calling for the immediate release of the president and his cabinet. So it's indeed one of the areas that the two heads of state will be looking at enhancing, especially around security.
We speak about how there was a coup d'etat attempt, guns outside a cabinet meeting, Vision 2063, silencing of the guns. Not much, we don't hear much of it anymore. We don't hear much of African leaders speaking about the silencing of the guns. You look at Cabo Delgado, what is currently happening in Mozambique with those insurgents of those rebels within that particular part of that country. Are we seeing more and more African countries, the guns firing off more than instead being silenced?
It is indeed a very enormous challenge facing the continent, Samgile, especially around the silencing of the guns, especially the West African region. It's perceived as a coup-prone part of Africa in light of all these disturbing events that you have seen, but also the issue of the rise of terrorism as well. So it's indeed going to feature prominently between the two leaders. But also, apart from that, the issue of oil exploration is quite important because we know that Guinea-Bissau is one of those countries earmarked to really have its own oil rigs come 2023. And we know with the current conflict in Ukraine, the oil price is really skyrocketing. So it's indeed going to be very key issues as Pretoria really eyes the barrel of oil, from West Africa. So it's a very critical issue indeed.
Kailihle, that barrel of oil is not only eyed within West Africa. In fact, our President Cyril Ramaphosa, has just been to West Africa in that West African trip that he had just taken. So he's got first-hand experience when he engages with President Embaló, but also the issue of oil. South Africa wants to explore its own offshore gas exploration projects to international companies, particularly within that draft proposal of the governing party. Hence, the Minister of Mineral Resources, Gwede Mantashe, will be central to these bilateral meetings that will be taking place here today. So, issues of oil and gas, issues of petrol, which affect you and I, will be at the center of these bilateral negotiations.